Welcome and thank you for joining us for this lesson in Texas Air Mission's Missionary, Airframe, and Powerplant School online training video series. Learn more about our mission at flymaps.org. Subscribe to our channel now to get all of our future training videos.
Okay, let's begin with Chapter 3. Lesson 3.1 is runway markings. So we have started with Chapter 1. We talked about aerodynamics. We talked about some of the basics of flight. And then Chapter 2, we got into the operation of the aircraft, how the systems operate. We got into electrical systems, engines, things like that. Now, what's that?
Carburetors.
Carburetors, yep. Now we're going to Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 is going to cover the rules and regulations that are there so that we can fly with other people and land at the same airport they do and not run into each other and have safe flights. And we know which airports we can use and can't use, and we know where we can land on the airport and where we can't go, and we don't want to pull out in front of people landing and things like that, right? So there's a pretty good system in place that establishes exactly how we do that. All right, so we're going to start with runway markings. All runways are numbered based on the magnetic azimuth, the compass bearing in which the runway is oriented. So we talked about this before. Remember, the compass has north, south, east, and west, but it also has all of these numbers that correspond with that. So for example, east is 90 degrees, south 180 degrees, west 270 degrees, on and on and on, right? That's how your compass works. Those are your compass directions. If we took that compass rose, we call it, if we laid that onto an airport with runways, we would number those runways based on those cardinal directions. So for example, it says runway 36 on the south end of this runway. Well, if south is 180 degrees, why does the south end of the runway have 36? That's because if you're landing on that runway, which way are you going? You're touching down here, you're going north, and north is 360 degrees, right? If you're going to land on this runway, you're landing facing east, your runway is going to say 9, because east is 90 degrees, right? That's how we get our runway numbers. That's what those numbers mean. Runway numbers are determined by rounding the compass bearing of one runway in to the nearest 10 degrees and truncating the last digit. So, for example, if we are flying west, but not quite west, west would be 270, so we are 10 degrees shy of that, so 240, 250, 260, 270, so we're right at the 260 degree mark. We are on a heading of 260 degrees on that compass, right? That runway is going to be runway 26. Because we're going to drop the 0, and it's going to be runway 26. What if it was 259 degrees? What would the runway number be? It's still 26, because we round up to the nearest tenth and drop the 0, right? What if it was 255 degrees?
You round up if it's a 5.
Not necessarily. It could be either one. It could be a 25 or a 26. It could be runway 25 or 26. And there's some other reasons they might pick different numbers. We'll actually talk about that in a minute too. So, 220 degrees, drop the 0, runway 22. Runway 22, right? Make sense? Everybody tracking so far?
Yeah.
Runways are numbered from 1 to 36 in whole numbers. It might be runway 01 or runway 1. It might be 0, 2, or 2, but it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 36. There's not going to be any other numbers higher than that. There's not going to be any in between whole numbers. It's going to be whole numbers from 1 to 36. So this runway, runway 18, which cardinal direction are you flying when you land on that runway?
180 south.
Yeah, 180 degrees is south. Remember that?
So landing on that.
180 degrees, you're flying
Man,
south.
I'm genuinely surprised I memorized that.
What about this one here? It says 04. What numerical azimuth on the compass are you going to see?
40.
40. There's always going to be a 0 on the end that's dropped off. Even if it says 1, it's 10.
Landing.
You'd
2
be
is
going
20.
northeast.
So it's 40. So you are going 40. You're on a northeast heading.
I figured it out.
All right. This one says 30R.
What does the R mean?
So what does the 30 mean, first of all?
300.
You're on a magnetic heading of 300 degrees. Yep. I'm going to let you hang on to that R. I'm going to explain that here in just a minute. 300 degrees is what? North, west, northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're heading in that direction. Where on the airport diagram, this is an airport diagram, where on that diagram was this photo of Mineral Wells Airport taken? Where was that airplane on this diagram? Say it. You can be wrong. It's cool to be wrong.
I'm just trying to match up landmarks, and this is difficult.
So that's 130.
You think he's going to be top left?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody agree with top left?
Yeah,
A little bit up and to the right from top left.
I think you do with an F-22 or an F-35. I can't tell.
Pretty sure that's an F-35. But, yeah, so look here. He's got runway 13 off to his left. That would be correct. 13 going off to the left. And runway 17 going off to the right. So that's where he would be on that diagram. All right. Reciprocal runways and parallel runways. 2 parallel runways will be designated R for right or L for left. 3 parallel runways will be designated R for right, C for center, or L for left. So you have runways 28, 3 of them side by side. So you have 28 left, 28 center, and 28 right. So that's where this R comes in right here. This is 30 right. So this runway over here is what? 30 left, right? 30 right means there's got to be a 30 left. Or it could be 30 center and then there's another 30 left,
Okay.
right? So 2 runways you have left and right, 3 you have left, center, and right. Is everybody tracking so far? Because I don't want to confuse it with what I say next. Next is, I should say what if, not what is. What if there are more than 3 runways?
You put an RR. Right of right.
2 R's, you think?
2 R's. That's my guess.
Any other guesses? In reality, they just changed the number. They'll put runway 29. You might even have 28 left, 28 right, 29 left, 29 right, even though they're all 4 pointing the same direction. All right. See picture A above. The area with the yellow chevrons may be used for overrun only. So that means that if you are landing on this airport, this runway, in this direction, you can't touch down here. You have to touch down past it. If you're taking off and there's a taxiway that comes out over here, you can't taxi back onto this and use that for takeoff. You can only use this for overrun. What is an overrun? That is an overrun. That's a bad day. In fact, he overran the overrun and ran off the end of the runway. So that is those yellow chevrons. That's what they would look like in a real world situation. Which of the above pictures shows a closed runway? C. Yeah. Notice that it has the X's over the markings there. That can be done like this. You could have a X physically painted on the numbers. You could actually have a lighted stand that you see from a distance. This runway is actually closed right now. So if as you're leaving today, unless I'm wrong and they reopened it today, but I'm pretty sure it's still closed. As you're leaving, look and you will see tires. They have painted tires and they have laid them out in an X pattern to mark the runway as closed right now. See picture B. The area with the arrows is called a displaced threshold. Unlike the overrun area, you can taxi and take off on that area. This area may be used for taxi, takeoff, but it cannot be used for landing. Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's an area on the airport?
Because it doesn't have our overrun.
Well, it's You would do the overrun at the other end. You'd be landing here, so. What would you
Because
say?
there's other planes there. They're all going one way.
Yeah. Usually it has
Is
to do
that
with,
how you get to the takeoff area?
could be.
It's
You
just a
can take off.
taxiway?
You can actually take off from here. You can actually,
Okay.
you just can't land here. You have to land up here. You have to land past the threshold.
Oh, because
That's called
the
threshold.
FAA says so.
Why do they say so though? Usually it has to do with the construction of the runway. So it's not built for landing an airplane.
That impact.
Taxiing is not a big deal, but
Okay.
it also might be something else. If the airport is under construction, we had one in Florida where they were using a crane for construction. So they instead of closing one half of a runway, they shortened it and made a displaced threshold so that you could taxi down and take off at the other end of the runway using about 3/4 of the runway.
And how
But you
well did
couldn't
that
land
go?
there because there was a crane there. They didn't want you to hit the crane. So
And how well did that go?
it was great. They got all their work done and moved the thing out of the way and then reopened the thing. So, all right, this is what that looks like in reality. So notice this area here. You would taxi in from here, and there's a little area right here, probably for doing run-ups or something like that. So you could like taxi your airplane, bring it over here, sit there as long as you want to, and do your maintenance run-ups and check your engine and see if everything's working right. And then you could actually just go right here and shoot, take off from there. But when you come in to land, what do you got to do? You got to pass the threshold, right? Cannot land on this side of that threshold. Match the description below to the picture. Runway holds short line. You guys don't know this yet because I haven't taught you this yet, but which one do you think is a runway holds short line? B.
Okay.
Double lines with double dash lines. The dash lines are on the runway side. So this is what it's going to look like when you're taxiing up to that runway. You're going to taxi up and you're going to see those double lines. What does that mean? What do you got to do before you cross those lines?
Hold.
Hold short until
The tower says you can
until
go.
you get permission from air traffic controllers. This is a towered airport. There's somebody there watching this airport.
Wait till
They
you
are-
say you can.
Right, wait till they give you permission. You can never, ever, never, never, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever pass from this taxi side onto that runway without ATC giving you explicit clearance to do that. You can go the other way. You can come off the runway and cross over the dash side onto the taxiway. All right. ILS critical area. Which one do you think is the ILS critical area?
A.
Yeah.
Because I've flashed it up there about 3 times
No,
already.
but because the movement, non-movement, hold short line is the same as the ones on the road.
That's pretty good deduction. All right, A, ILS critical marking area. You are correct. It is A. What is an ILS critical area? What do you think that is? What is ILS? What does it stand for? We've talked about it briefly before. It stands for Instrument Landing System.
Okay.
I was going to
So-
say L standard for landing.
So this is an airport that is not only visual, it's not only controlled, it also has instrument procedures. You could be landing where you can't see very well. You can land under instrument procedures because there's low clouds or whatever.
Okay.
That means that that airport has equipment that's transmitting radio signals and other kinds of electronic created signals to aircraft that are airborne. And if you pull up there, past this area, and stop there to hold short, you're sitting in the middle of those transmission areas, and you're interrupting transmission from getting those aircraft. And they might not be receiving important critical information that they need or that their equipment on their airplane needs to land on that airport. So an ILS critical marking area is going to have this marking. It's also, notice here, it says ILS here, or it has a sign with the same symbol that's painted on the ground there, right? Or it even says ILS here on the runway. So those are all examples that make it very clear that they don't want you parking in that area because you're interfering with instrument landing, right?
That's a good one.
For those following on camera, we have the dog in the house saying hi to everybody. You don't get to pet the dog. See, if you were here, you could pet the dog, but you're not here, so. All right, movement, non-movement, hold short. Which one do you think that is? Well, it ain't A or B, right? So it's got to be C. What does that mean? What is a movement area and a non-movement area?
It's like a passing and no passing zone.
It kind of is, yeah.
It looks like
So-
like on a normal car, like a
what
normal
it
car
is.
road.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. So what is the term movement area, non-movement area? You're on the right track,
One
but
area,
it has nothing to do with which direction you're going. So
one
Within
area
the
don't
side
move.
that has the dashes is where you're allowed to taxi, and outside of that, it's unsafe.
yeah, so if you're in an airplane taxiing out here, can you go into the non-movement area?
Oh.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Yeah, it might be a ramp, or it might be a place where you park your airplane. There might be cars driving around in this area. What this delineates is the movement area from the non-movement area. Movement area is where airplanes are taxiing, vehicles are driving while communicating with air traffic control, and you can't cross that solid line onto the movement area unless you're talking to air traffic control. Can you cross that line? Sure. If air traffic control is talking to you and gives you permission to. For example, you might need to tow an airplane over to that building right there. That airplane might have been over here for maintenance, and now it's going over there, and you might need to drive the tractor or the tug over there, pick it up, and tow it across the airport. How would you do that? Well, you're probably going to have a follow-me truck, and they're probably going to have a radio talking to the tower. The tower's going to say, hold short at runway, blah, 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 just like you're taxiing in an airplane. But they're going to give you permission to cross over those lines. If you're not talking to them, you can't do that. You can't cross over it, right? You may not cross which side of a hold short line without ATC clearance. Both of these are hold shorts. The solid line, that is correct. Solid stripe side, you cannot cross over from the solid stripe side unless ATC explicitly gives you permission to do that. So, what color are runway center lines and markings?
Yellow
Are they
White.
and white.
White and yellow.
white and yellow?
Yellow and white.
What are these? Is that a runway?
Taxiway.
What are these?
That's
Runway.
So which one's runway?
The white.
White. All right, that is correct. White is runway. Yellow is not runway. What color are taxiway center lines and marking? Well, they're not white because then it would be a runway. So it
Yellow.
must be yellow. Exactly. You guys' power of deductive reasoning is astounding. Yellow is for taxiways and white is for runways. All right, this is Hillsborough Municipal Airport. Runway, what number runway are we looking at here?
16.
Yeah, runway 16. So in nerdy pilot lingo, we say 16. Why don't we say 16?
Because it's not 16.
160.
Because for
16.
clear communications, we say 16. Because if we say 16, it could sound like 15. If we're saying on radio and it's scratchy and garbly. So we say 16. 16 is nice, clear lingo. So we say runway 16. So runway 16 at Hillsborough Municipal Airport is how many feet wide? Well, in order to figure out the runway width, we need to know the number of threshold stripes. So how many threshold stripes do we have?
6, that would be
1,
75
2,
feet.
3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6. So 6 thresholds mean we have a 75 feet wide runway.
Did you say niner instead of nine?
We did, yeah.
You did? I thought
One,
that was just
two.
something they did in movies.
1, 2, 3. So 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 and
Why
none.
do you say
9 and none sounds like the same thing. So you say niner. So some people don't. Some people say 9. But what is it? Tree?
Yeah.
That's how it's pronounced for the whatever you call that phonetic alphabet or whatever. Just pronounce it as tree. I don't know what the
It's
reason
easier
is.
to hear.
Yeah, something to do with radio. Something to do that. And then you're gonna have to memorize that too. So you're gonna have to know those numbers, and you're gonna have to know Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, blah blah blah, all that stuff too. All right. Here's some other stuff too. You don't have to memorize all these, but many runways now have additional markings as shown above to an aiming point, along with distance markings from the approach end of the runway.
Thank you for watching this lesson from MAPS, the Missionary, Airframe, and Powerplant School, a ministry of Texas Air Missions. If you found this training helpful, please subscribe, like, and share to help support the mission. To learn more about our ministry, visit flymaps.org. We look forward to having you join us for the next lesson in this series.